Hey NFL fans, before we dive into today's hottest stories, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss an update from NFL News Now. When Jerry Jones pulled the trigger on that blockbuster trade to send Micah Parsons out of Dallas, the football world stopped for a second and collectively went, "Wait, what?" You could feel the disbelief echoing through sports bars, Twitter timelines, and every Cowboys fan group in America. Micah Parsons wasn't just another player. He was the face of the Cowboys' defense, a generational pass rusher with a motor that never quit. He was the guy who struck fear into opposing quarterbacks and made offensive coordinators lose sleep. And yet, Jones decided to ship him off, supposedly to fix a leaky run defense. Now, I don't know about you, but that explanation sounded paper-thin from the start. Sure, Jerry said it was about improving the trenches, about bringing in Kenny Clark to shore up that front line, but let's be honest, nobody was buying that excuse completely. It looked personal, and maybe it was. But what's wild is how fast things have evolved since that day. Through 9 games, it became painfully clear that the Cowboys' run defense wasn't magically fixed by Clark's arrival. The numbers tell the story: 143 rushing yards allowed per game, 4th most in the league. That's not just bad, that's flat-out ugly for a team that has playoff aspirations every single year. Clark himself, while still a talented and respected defensive tackle, hasn't exactly lived up to the hype. His 49.4 run defense grade from PFF ranks him 54th among defensive tackles, middle of the pack, nothing special. So, the grand plan Jerry Jones sold to Cowboys Nation? It was falling apart, and fast. The same issues that haunted this defense last year were still there. Missed tackles, blown assignments, no gap integrity. The kind of stuff that drives coaches crazy and fans even crazier. But if there's one thing about Jerry Jones, it's that he never backs down. You can criticize him all day for his stubbornness, his ego, or his meddling in football operations, but the man refuses to sit still. He's addicted to the big move, the headline-grabbing trade, the splash that keeps the Cowboys relevant in every news cycle. And just when it looked like the season might slip away, sitting at 3-5-1 and fading fast, Jones doubled down. He went all in again, sending a second and a first-round pick to the New York Jets for All-Pro defensive tackle Quinnen Williams. Boom. Just like that, the Cowboys' defense got an instant jolt of credibility. You can debate the timing all you want. Was it smart to give up that much draft capital for a season that looks lost? But nobody can deny that Quinnen Williams changes everything in the middle of that line. And you know it's a real move when even guys on other teams start talking. Cam Hayward, one of the most respected defensive linemen in the entire NFL, was on his podcast, Not Just Football, singing the Cowboys' praises. Putting Kenny Clark and Quinnen Williams together, also adding Logan Wilson. They've really redone that defense down in Dallas, Hayward said. And they needed it, because their defense has had some concerns. Q's gonna light it up. You can't just block Kenny Clark, you can't just block Quinnen Williams, so it's gonna give a lot of people fits in the NFC. That's not just talk. That's a 4-time All-Pro giving his stamp of approval to what Dallas is building. And that carries weight. Quinnen Williams isn't just another body on the line. This guy is a monster. He's sitting at the top of PFF's run defense rankings with a ridiculous 90.8 grade. He blows up double teams, eats blocks, and has the kind of quickness off the snap that makes offensive linemen panic. Pairing him with Clark might finally give the Cowboys what they've been missing since the days of Leroy Glover. A truly dominant interior. You can feel the identity shifting already. With Williams and Clark anchoring the line, and Logan Wilson flying around behind them, the Cowboys are starting to look more like a physical, punch-you-in-the-mouth type of defense again. That's the kind of edge they've been missing for years. Now, let's be real. This unit still has holes. The run defense might be the most obvious weakness, but the pass defense has been just as problematic, maybe even worse. Dallas is giving up 254.4 passing yards per game, which ranks near the bottom of the league. Opposing quarterbacks are having field days against them, and the secondary that once looked promising with Trayvon Diggs and Darren Bland hasn't been able to hold up under pressure. Part of that is because the pass rush has taken a serious hit since Parsons left. Without his explosiveness off the edge, Dallas sack totals have dropped. They've managed just 20 sacks so far this year, which puts them in the middle of the NFL pack. Decent, but far from elite. And remember, Parsons already has 6.5 sacks on his new team. That's the kind of production Dallas sorely misses. But here's the thing. Even if the Cowboys' defense isn't suddenly going to morph into the 2000 Ravens overnight, there's a path here. There's a direction. For the first time all season, you can see a plan forming. The interior of that line is locked down with two legitimate difference makers. The linebacking core, with Logan Wilson coming over from Cincinnati, has more speed and leadership. Wilson's instincts are next level. He diagnoses plays before they happen, the kind of cerebral linebacker every defensive coordinator dreams of having. If Dan Quinn can find a way to scheme these new pieces together, if he can get creative with stunts, disguised blitzes, and rotation packages, this defense might start to gel faster than people expect. Of course, all eyes will be on how quickly Williams and Wilson can adapt to Dallas' system. Learning a new playbook midseason is no small task, especially in a defense as complex as Quinn's. Communication and chemistry are everything on that side of the ball. One misread gap, one wrong assignment, and a 5-yard run turns into a 50-yard touchdown. But if these guys can get up to speed quickly, and if they stay healthy, the Cowboys could suddenly become one of the toughest defenses to run against in the NFC. Imagine lining up as an opposing offensive coordinator and realizing you've got to deal with both Kenny Clark and Quinnen Williams clogging up the middle. Good luck running between the tackles. And let's not forget the other side of the equation, Dak Prescott and that offense. Dallas doesn't need its defense to be a top 5 unit right now. They just need them to be competent. The offense is averaging around 30 points per game, one of the best marks in the league. Prescott has been sharp, CeeDee Lamb has been electric, and the offensive line, when healthy, has been holding its own. If the defense can simply hold opponents under 30 points, just hold the line, this team can still win games. The NFC isn't exactly loaded with dominant teams this year, and with a late-season surge, Dallas could sneak back into the conversation. That's the magic of a Jerry Jones team. Just when you think they're dead, just when you think the circus has finally imploded, he makes another move that drags the spotlight right back to Arlington. It's easy to roll your eyes at the drama, the headlines, the never-ending soap opera that is the Dallas Cowboys. But it's also impossible to look away. Because say what you want about Jerry, the man knows how to keep things interesting. This Quinnen Williams trade, if it pans out, could be one of those legacy-defining moments for Jones. Maybe it redeems him for letting Parsons go. Maybe it proves he still has an eye for the long game, even at 83 years old. Or maybe it crashes and burns like so many bold Cowboys experiments before it. But one thing's for sure, it's going to make the NFC a whole lot more fun to watch. As Cam Hayward said, it's going to give a lot of people fits. And that's what makes this league so unpredictable, so addicting. You never know when a mid-season trade can flip the script, when a single move can change everything. So yeah, maybe Jerry Jones is crazy. Maybe he's stubborn, impulsive, and way too emotional for his own good. But he's also fearless. And in a league built on risk, sometimes that's exactly what it takes to win. Whether this move turns Dallas into contenders or just adds another wild chapter to their ongoing saga, one thing's certain. The Cowboys are back in the headlines, and the rest of the NFC better be paying attention. Because when Jerry's all in, anything can happen. Keep watching as we analyze more details about some rumors. Hold on tight, football fans, because what just dropped in the NFL rumor mill is nothing short of explosive, and if you're a Cowboys fan, you might want to sit down. It's being reported. Yes, being reported as official, that the Washington Commanders have pulled off a move that could very well shake the foundation of Dallas' defensive plans for the entire season. I'm talking about none other than linebacker DeMarvion Overshown, the guy who's been a rising star for the Cowboys, suddenly finding himself donning the Commanders' colors. Now, before you start thinking this is just another trade rumor floating around without any weight, let me tell you, sources close to both locker rooms are buzzing, and the narrative that's forming is wild. This isn't a minor roster tweak or a quiet mid-season adjustment. This feels like a strategic blow aimed straight at the heart of Dallas' defensive core, and it's happening at a moment when everyone thought the Cowboys had their blueprint locked and loaded. The shockwaves from this move are already being felt across social media, sports talk shows, and locker room whispers alike, and you can practically hear the collective gasp from Arlington to DC. Now, let's break down why this is more than just a headline. DeMarvion Overshown is not your average linebacker. The guy has been a disruptive force for Dallas, a player who could read plays, close gaps, and make critical stops that turned games around. His presence in the Cowboys lineup was becoming almost indispensable, and the thought of him slipping into a division rival system? Well, that's the kind of storyline that makes NFL analysts lose sleep. Sources are saying the Commanders didn't just sign him. They have a very calculated plan for how Overshown fits into their defensive scheme, and from the sounds of it, the blueprint is almost surgical. Imagine the film rooms lighting up in Dallas, defensive coordinators trying to reassemble a puzzle that just had its most dynamic piece snatched away. It's one of those moves that doesn't just add talent, it actively subtracts it from a rival, and the timing couldn't be more dramatic. Fans online are already speculating about matchups later in the season, imagining Overshown lining up against former teammates, reading their formations, and exploiting weaknesses he knows all too well. The mental game alone is enormous, and it's causing a ripple effect that nobody saw coming. What's especially fascinating is how this trade, or let's call it what it really is, a strategic heist, fits into the larger narratives of both franchises. The Commanders, who have been quietly aggressive in the off-season and draft periods, seem to be signaling that they are not just here to compete, but to actively disrupt the plans of teams like Dallas. Overshown's acquisition isn't just about bolstering Washington's linebacker core. It's a message to the NFC East. We see you, we know your strengths, and we're going to challenge you at your core. Meanwhile, for Dallas, the ripple effects could be enormous. Defensive rotations might need to be rethought, the communication between linebackers adjusted, and schemes recalibrated on the fly. You can almost picture the Cowboys' defensive staff huddled in film rooms, scribbling out new strategies, wondering how they let Overshown slip away and what they're going to do to plug the sudden hole in their plans. And this isn't a small hole, folks. Overshown wasn't just a contributor. He was a piece of the defensive chessboard that made everything click. Losing him to a divisional rival? That's more than a dent. That's a potential seismic shift. Let's also not ignore the human element in all this. Trades like this are rarely just transactional. They're deeply personal. Players like Overshown carry locker room presence, leadership, and chemistry that can't just be measured in stats. Sources close to the team indicate that the locker rooms on both sides are buzzing with anticipation and maybe even a touch of unease. For Washington, this is a morale boost, a signal that management is willing to pull the trigger for key players who can redefine the team's trajectory. For Dallas, it's a moment that could test the resilience of the squad. How will the remaining linebackers step up? Who will fill the gap? And more importantly, how will the team mentally process the fact that one of their most promising defenders is now potentially the player to target in upcoming matchups? Rumors are flying that Dallas coaching staff is already considering shakeups in their defensive approach, possibly shifting schemes, or even accelerating the development of younger players to compensate. The narrative writes itself. A rising star taken by a rival, locker rooms adjusting, and fans caught in the middle of a storyline that feels ripped straight from a Hollywood script. And the timing, my friends, is nothing short of cinematic. Right when the season is gearing up, when strategies are being polished and rivalries are heating up, the Commanders strike. Overshown's arrival could not be more disruptive or more perfect from Washington's perspective. You can almost see the Commanders' coaches sitting back, reviewing film, and imagining the scenarios where Overshown reads the Cowboys' plays, anticipates movements, and executes tackles that send former teammates reeling. The narrative practically writes itself. It's personal, it's dramatic, and it's the kind of storyline that keeps fans glued to their screens. There's even chatter that this move could influence future free agency negotiations, with players and agents seeing Washington as a team willing to go all in, making bold moves to directly challenge a rival's dominance. Overshown is more than a player. He's a symbol of Washington's audacity. And if the rumors hold up, we might be witnessing the beginning of a real shift in the NFC East balance of power. Of course, there are still questions swirling around this development. How will Overshown adapt to his new environment? Can he seamlessly integrate into Washington's defensive system without missing a beat? Will Dallas find a way to adjust and maintain their defensive potency despite losing such a critical piece? All of these are valid inquiries, and insiders are weighing in with their takes, each more tantalizing than the last. Some analysts are framing it as a calculated risk for Washington, betting on Overshown's talent and football IQ to pay dividends immediately. Others are highlighting the psychological impact on Dallas, emphasizing how losing a key contributor to a rival team could create tension, doubt, or even inspire the remaining players to elevate their game. Either way, the conversation is heating up, and the speculation alone is enough to dominate headlines and social media feeds. Fans on both sides are dissecting every possible outcome, from season-long performance to potential playoff ramifications, and the chatter shows no signs of slowing down. And let's not forget the ripple effect across the league. Trades like this aren't isolated events. They send signals to other franchises, subtly warning that competition isn't just on the field. It's in the boardroom, in the front office, and in strategic decision-making. Overshown to the Commanders is more than a move. It's a statement. Teams are watching, scouts are taking notes, and the ripple effect could shape how rival teams approach their own rosters, free agency plans, and even draft strategies. The whispers in the NFL world are growing louder. Washington is no longer playing small ball. They are actively seeking to destabilize opponents, and acquiring a player like Overshown fits perfectly into that narrative. You can almost imagine the scene. Other GMs on the phone, discussing how to respond, how to anticipate Washington's next move, all while Dallas tries to figure out how to reassemble a defense that just lost a cornerstone. The intrigue, the tension, the drama. It's what makes NFL rumor season feel like a full-fledged thriller. In the end, whether you're a diehard Cowboys fan mourning the sudden loss of a key defensive player or a Washington supporter reveling in the audacity of this acquisition, one thing is clear. DeMarvion Overshown's move to the Commanders isn't just a trade. It's a narrative shift, a strategic disruption, and a storyline that will dominate NFL discussions for weeks to come. The implications are vast, the timing is impeccable, and the drama is unfolding in real time. This is exactly the kind of high-stakes, in-your-face maneuver that reminds everyone why we love the NFL. The rivalries, the bold moves, the whispered rumors turning into reality, and the sheer unpredictability of the game. And as we watch how this plays out on the field, off the field, and in every locker room across the league, one thing is for sure. The ripple effects of Overshown's move to Washington are just beginning. Buckle up, because this is a story that's far from over, and the NFC East, and perhaps the entire NFL, is about to feel the impact. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like this video and share it with your fellow NFL fans. Stay tuned for more updates, only here on NFL News Now.